A young girl saw a man basically cut in two by a train accident and died on her feet from shock. And that kind of blew my mind. But of course, she didn't have the opportunity to watch all sorts of garish movies to prepare to, it must have been such an well, first of all, she might have been in a weakened state, obviously.
Yes, I would think so. I would think so. So I think the support that her diaphragm would be giving to her heart was less. Remember, they're connected. So probably the shock would cause her to hold her breath, right? To clamp down on the blood vessels that would be serving the heart, and so she eventually had a heart attack. And if there was a weakness for her, and I'm sure there would have been, then that was the unfortunate consequence.
Okay, let's take a less dramatic example, but let's say somebody has a non um, fleeting shock. In other words, they learn something, difficult, unpleasant, and it's going to be a long, unpleasant problem that they have to deal with. I imagine that unless if they're not able to process it emotionally, or it takes a while to process it emotionally, in the meantime, it strikes me that their diaphragm is going to be affected. Could you address that?
Yes. So low level flight or fight. That is, and sometimes you can be in that state and not even be aware of it because you've lived in it for so long, because of the levels of anxiety that are around. And this means that you are persistently breathing with your auxiliary respiratory muscle, with your emotional muscle, your upper chest muscle, at the um, expense of the the diaphragm's work, which should, of course, support you in times of stress. So, in times of stress, you may, for a moment, catch your breath, and then you should, and people do, they just sigh with something called relief, or simply they're just sighing. They find themselves sighing as well, and that sigh back is to get you back to your diaphragm. And when you get back to the diaphragm, then the blood vessels become open again. You're not draining your adrenal glands, which is another problem, because you're being kept going by adrenaline, which is another reason why when people are under stress or anxious, often they get up and do things. And the doing of it helps. They said, well, it really helped me. I couldn't sit still, so I had to be doing things. So doing things are involving the biomechanics of your body, and that's keeping your blood circulation going, and you don't feel quite so bad when you stop. It all comes back here again, and once more you're like, oh, it's horrible. No, I'll do the washing up for the third time, but not quite like that. But that makes a difference. So moving around can be a circulatory relief.
So it's entirely possible that someone could receive a shock, physical, emotional, psychological, and their diaphragm could lock up, lose function, and
Yes,
stay in that state for an
yes,
indefinite period of time. That could happen.
yes, it could happen. And this is again why giving somebody hot, sweet tea. Now, sweet because it's nice, not because the sugar, and it does give you a little bit of energy. But what you're doing with hot, sweet tea is you're sipping it. And those little sips will take you back to diaphragm breathing.
And that's because the diaphragm's involved in swallowing.
Yes, in the swallowing process.